So this was a personal order that I made for an end of year treat to give away for ballet. And I wanted to do something that was versatile, something that you could look at, and automatically think, okay, girly girl, ballet bow, ballet pink. And so I tried to stick with those, blush colors. And do something that could also be used as like an inspiration, for my client. So that way they could see other things that I'm capable of doing if they're wanting, to have like a treat for a baby shower, specifically like a girl's baby shower. I feel like this is a treat that could be used for that. So I incorporated, of course, the dip method. That's what I use. So I dipped these in a light pink color. Then I did the white drizzle, sprinkled it with white sprinkles, and topped it off with a bow, and added some gold glitter dust on top of that bow. And then of course I added a tag that had gold accents to it. So it was perfect because it brought out the gold glitter dust that I added. I really love these molds that I got at Hobby Lobby. The silicone was just perfect. These bows popped out so nicely, no breaks, nothing. They popped out really good. I normally get my molds from off of Amazon, which no offense to Amazon. I love Amazon. Here you could see my daughter, she was wanting to help, so I let her help a little bit. But with Amazon, every time I order one, I feel as though the silicone is not as flexible, so it's stiff and it's harder to pop the molds out, and then you end up having breakage here and there, and they're not as deep either. So these are deep. If they're deep, you're not going to have any problems. And these were deep. So they were thick, but then of course if you don't like the thickness in them, don't fill them all the way to the top. And I think if you don't have to fill them all the way to the top, and you're not going to have any breakage either, because these are just so easy to take out because of the silicone is just, it's not super thick and stiff. I like this one also as well because it came with a variety of bows. There's 6 rows, 6 columns, and so it was fairly easy to get this order done, even though it's the largest order I've ever done, for a particular order, and of course it's a personal order, because this one was about 45 cakesicles that I made, and this was done in one day, in one sitting too, minus adding the tags and stuff like that. But everything was pretty much done in one day. And that's pretty good for this. And it is mainly because I also, since it was a personal order, I wasn't putting a whole bunch of detail into this. I didn't want to use a lot of my inventory, like I said, and so I kept it simple. But for every order, I like to, make it look pretty, and add detail where I feel like it's needed. And as you can tell, I'm using a lighter to reheat the almond bark so that way the bow sticks onto the cakesicle. I finally got a lighter. It's not because I didn't, refuse to buy it. I would just keep forgetting. And typically I use the, some leftover almond bark as like a glue, add it like a glue, drizzle some onto the back of the mold. In this case, it would be the bow, and then stick it onto the cakesicle. But like I said, this time I'm using the lighter, which was so much faster. I recommend that. And overall, I love the look, the drizzle. It's classic, it's timeless, and it just works. And they're pretty much done. Here I'm just adding the final touch, which is the gold glitter dust, and I just wanted to add it to the bow. I thought it just made the bow pop. Everything else looked good. I didn't want to apply glitter, gold glitter dust to the whole entire cakesicle like I normally do. I love the glitter. Number one, I felt like it just looked better. It helped to make the bow pop and stand out. And then number two, like I said, this was not an order, for somebody else. This was a personal one for my daughter's, ballet classes and so dance classes. And so I didn't want to use a lot of my inventory on this either. But the gold touches I feel like are perfect. And like I said, it tied into the tag that I then added that you can see in the previous pictures. And then also, this was actually my first time individually individually wrapping each treat, and so I thought that was perfect too. That needed to be done because of course you're handing these treats out and you need it to be perfect. So I love this order. Thanks for watching.